Welcome back to our broadcast today. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee sent a letter to members of Trump's cabinet and other federal agencies. It asks for documents on department spending at businesses owned or affiliated with the Trump Organization. The letter reads in part, quote, "The American people deserve to know how their tax dollars are spent, including the amount of federal funds that are being provided to private businesses owned by the president. The president's financial entanglements make it impossible to know whether he is making his decisions in the public interest or to benefit him or his family members financially." The letter goes on to name several instances in which federal money was spent at Trump companies, and the committee has asked for all these requested documents by the end of the month. Here with us to talk about this tonight, former federal prosecutor and an assistant Watergate prosecutor, Nick Ackerman, and of course our own Ali Velshi. Gentlemen, welcome. Nick, you had a conversation with one of our producers tonight about public spiritedness and altruism and the desire to serve a cause greater than yourself. You invoked the Peace Corps, and we have a young friend who just started her service in Africa. And in viewing her experience, I have wanted to think that our country still has an active and robust Peace Corps, and they still get the lecture, and they still get the classes in why this is important. You raised this with our producer to argue that we're seeing the opposite of that now.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely terrible. When I grew up, when I was 12 years old, John F. Kennedy was president. And I remember sitting through his inauguration when he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." This president has turned that expression on its head. He has used this presidency to basically line his pockets, profit his businesses. His daughter goes to the GOP convention and sells her dresses in her speech. They have the communications director, Kellyanne Conway, one of his chief advisors, go out and hawk her wares to the public. I mean, this is a presidency that's out for the profit. It's not out for that noble goal that I think I grew up with. The reason I went into public service, the reason I went into the government was because I wanted to help people, I wanted to do good, and there was something to be benefited for everyone from public service. What worries me is, what is a 12-year-old kid to think today, watching this president who has nothing good to say about uplifting your goals, trying to help the rest of humanity? I mean, this isn't a Democratic or Republican kind of thing. I mean, George Bush, Senior George Bush, George W. Bush, they all had a goal. It may have been a different way of getting to a final end, but they all had the notion that you go into public service because it was a noble cause and you're helping your fellow persons. It is not that way with Donald Trump. This administration doesn't give us that notion.
Truth be told, it was Ali Velshi I was quoting as we went into the break that you said in this room that being president would be the most lucrative thing Trump ever did. We can't change the fact that he was in business before running to office, but did it have to be this way?
Right, and it was a branding business, so by definition, he could enrich himself by virtue of more people knowing his brand, if that was possible.
Kind of like licensing.
It was like licensing. The problem is this: you and I were also together in that first press conference where his lawyer came out, and then he came out and talked about the fact that even though he doesn't have to do these things, he's putting his stuff into a strange kind of trust that they called a blind trust that was nothing blind about it, and he was going to do these things because it was the right thing to do. And that was the last time that was spoken of, the idea that it was the right thing to do to separate yourself from your business interests. So for instance, to Nick's point, what should have been done is to say, where possible, don't spend public monies at Trump businesses, just to ensure that there's no optics of conflict. It appears that's not even happening. So there were purchases made at Trump Hotel. There were stays at the Trump Hotel in Vancouver. I mean, there are all sorts of options in a place like Vancouver, but somehow the government's doing business at the Trump Hotel. These are the kinds of things that these Democrats are trying to get from the various government agencies to say, where are you choosing to spend your money and how are those choices being made?
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.